Business of Fashion just posted their predictions in the beauty world in 2025, and I have to say, some of them kind of surprised me. So today I want to talk through the trends that they say we need to be watching out for in 2025 and react to them, let you know which ones I agree with and which ones kind of surprised me. And they also shared some interesting facts in this article. I will leave it linked down below, but one that stood out to me was that e.l.f. is one of the only mass brands, so like drugstore price point, to continue to see a flat demand even after raising their prices. So I will have this article linked down below. I will also have my beauty predictions that I posted back in December linked down below if you haven't watched that video yet. But before we jump in, I'm so excited to say there is a sponsor on today's video. Thank you to Wonderskin for partnering with me on this video. You have definitely heard me talk about the Wonderskin lip stains. My favorite up until recently has been Charming. I'm such a lip stain person in general. I love wearing them underneath my lip combo so that it just lasts longer and better throughout the day. And Charming was my go-to until recently when they launched Hush. And this is my new favorite from the brand. This is like a Your Lips But Better shade. It's really hard to find lip stains that are brown or nude. So many of them are pink or red and kind of just end up looking similar. This is actually a true brown, and then when you put it on your lips, combined with like the natural tone of your lips, it makes the perfect Your Lips But Better shade. So this is what I have on today. I also topped it with a little bit of their lip liner in the shade Saddle, which ends up being like the exact same shade that this stains my lips to. So if you like to overline, I feel like this combo is perfect because it's not very noticeable because it's like the same shade. And then I put a little bit of their clear top gloss on top. This is my like easy lip combo. This lasts all night. I also tried their brow stain. This one lasts very well too. I've even used this actually as a lip liner stain when I want something really bold. They also gave me a discount code. It is KELLY15 to get you 15% off on the website. I'll have their website linked down below. Thank you so much to Wonderskin for sponsoring this portion of today's video, and let's jump in. The first key theme identified by Business of Fashion is fragrance fans multiples mindset. This is something I've spoken about in previous videos where consumers used to crave having a signature scent. Like, this is the Kelly perfume. Like, you smell this and it smells like Kelly. But that is less of what people seem to be after these days. And instead, they're looking for a fragrance wardrobe. They're looking for variety and options. They write 73% of Gen Z and millennial customers use 3 or more scents regularly, and 69% layer their fragrances. I've also talked in other videos about how successful fragrance as a category was in 2024, and they're anticipating that that success will carry over into 2025. And I have to say, this one doesn't surprise me. I think we'll continue to see fragrance dominate, but I think it might look a little bit different than it has previously. I think so much of the emphasis is going to be on slightly more accessible versions of perfume. So body sprays, perfumes that are at a lower and more accessible price point. I actually just saw that Touchland, the hand sanitizer brand, is coming out with perfumes. I was not surprised to see that. I was actually kind of excited, and I think that's the direction we'll see more often. And I really attribute this to Sol de Janeiro. You know, it's like the Sol de Janeiro effect. They were well known for their body care products, and they did well with their body care products, but they really exploded after having some really successful body sprays. And then we watched every other brand jump on the body spray train. Business of Fashion specifically talks about fragrance for price-conscious consumers being important in the new year through things like body sprays, but also scented perfumes and lotions, which is something we've also seen and I think will grow, like brands making a scented lotion of their favorite product or their go-to perfume, or just like different body sprays. Even continuing this into other parts of your life, like scented detergent. This is something we've seen from Deadpool, where you can have your signature perfume as your detergent. They also said that mini versions of luxury fragrances grew 3 times faster than full-size perfumes in 2024, which initially surprised me, but then after thinking about it, I'm like, actually, this makes sense. Considering that people are buying more perfume, there's less of a need to invest in a large bottle if you're having a bigger collection, because you're not going to finish that large bottle. You might as well have smaller versions of different perfume, because that seems to be the direction the consumer is going. They want the variety as opposed to the value, you know? Like a bigger perfume, the cost per ounce might be better. That's not really where shoppers seem to be interested right now. Cosmopolitan also just posted an article about all things scent in 2025, and they quoted writer Sable Young saying saying we're going to see every part of our daily, seemingly mundane lifestyles scented. They say this means scent is evolving beyond scenting the person to scenting everything personal to you in an elevated way, including your clothes, your home, and even your car. And they called out different categories too, like scent for the room with different room sprays, scent for the kitchen with more modern versions of different all-purpose sprays and soaps, as well as scent for your clothes with different laundry detergents. And this was actually the prediction that I made in my previous predictions video back in 2023 for what I expected to see in 2024, and we didn't see it on the level that I anticipated, but now it feels clear that we are going to be seeing this in 2025. The next key theme actually surprised me. And not because I don't agree with it, but it just seemed very like hyper specific to be one of the 5 key themes that they're calling out in 2025. But they say Milky Toner, the K-Beauty to Bieber pipeline. So they talked about how successful Milky Toners were in 2024 and even just like the word milk in products. And they're anticipating that that will carry over into 2025. And on some level, I do agree with this, but I would actually take it much more broad and say that Asian skincare will be a lot bigger for Western consumers in 2025. And this has been happening for a few years, but I think 2025 it's going to continue to gain momentum. And I think there are a lot of contributing factors here, a big one being price point, especially when people are more cost focused. You can find fantastic skincare products from K-beauty brands that are considerably cheaper than the products you're finding in Sephora. And interestingly enough, Milky Toner is the #1 skincare search term predicted by Spate in 2025. And I don't think it's going to be just milky toners. I think it's any sort of hydrating essence. I think there will be more emphasis on essences and hydrating toners, especially because what tends to be really popular in Western skincare is exfoliation, acids. Not all skin types tolerate well. I know I have very sensitive skin, so I can't use a lot of the like exfoliating acids on any sort of a frequent rotation. My skin really craves hydrating products instead, and then I use stronger actives a lot more sparingly. I'm mostly just a tretinoin girl. Considering the emphasis that Western skincare places on exfoliation and different acids, which can be fantastic for your skin and can certainly yield wonderful results when used correctly, but when overused or misused can be really damaging to your skin's barrier. So it feels unsurprising that now we're seeing such interest and desire for products that are calming, soothing, and supportive of the barrier. It feels like the inevitable response to the big push for acids years prior. Next, they say beauty takes Gen Alpha seriously. I can't say I'm surprised by this. There has certainly been a push for younger consumers for a while now. We talked extensively last year about Sephora Kids. Last month, I actually posted a 2024 wrap-up looking back on the year, and I talked about the key themes that I saw in 2024, and one that I called out in that video was makeup for kids. There is a very clear focus from makeup and skincare brands on a younger and younger audience. They write, it hasn't taken long for brands to recognize these young beauty shoppers' spending power. Circana found that families with kids are spending more on beauty than those without. As a result, Gen Alpha focused launches are set to take off in 2025. The article also mentioned how this desire to attract Gen Alpha is manifesting in product packaging, saying popular brands with Gen Alpha like Drunk Elephant, Bioma, and Sol de Janeiro all have one thing in common: bright candy-colored packaging. With that, beauty shelves are beginning to see a rainbow effect. You know, gone are the days of shelves lined with millennial pink packaging, and instead we're seeing these much brighter exteriors. They referenced a few different beauty brands in the article that have recently rebranded, a big one being Zit Sticka. They used to have much more pastel packaging, and they've swapped that out for these really bold, bright tones. But we've also seen just an increased dialogue about this in general, about what products do and do not work on younger skin. I've even seen some brands talking about age limits on their products and sharing their age limits with their audience, like we don't recommend this for people under this age. There was also a push in California for a bill that would have made it illegal to sell anti-aging skincare products to kids under the age of 13, but it ultimately unfortunately failed to move forward. Alex Lee, that offered the bill, says the multi-billion-dollar beauty industry in the US is failing to take meaningful action to address the issue, and companies are profiting off kids who are unknowingly buying and using products that aren't meant for them. AB 2491 will protect children and preteens from the potential harms of using products that may lead to short-term or long-term skin challenges that they wouldn't otherwise have. And interestingly enough, going back to the previous prediction about milky toners and hydrating skincare products in general, in a way I see that tying in with this as well, because those gentle products are much better tolerated on younger skin. Business of Fashion also predicts men's hair talk spurs sales. And they once again reference Spate's fastest growing terms, specifically texturizing powder, which is apparently gaining momentum in the men's hair care space online. They talked about how popular men's hair care has been in terms of like hair regrowth, hair styling, in the online space, and apparently many men's hair related search terms made their way into Google's year of search for 2024, including many of these I had never heard of: alpaca hair, warrior haircut, low fade haircut men, that one doesn't surprise me, broccoli head haircut, I don't even know what that means. And this prediction actually does not surprise me at all, because it's in line with a prediction I had on my original predictions list for 2025, but did not make the final cut of the video. I took it out, but I originally had a segment in there about beauty targeted towards men. And part of the reason I do still kind of anticipate this happening in 2025 is from some rumblings I've been hearing. I mean, this obviously makes sense, ties into it, but e.l.f. CEO mentioned in a somewhat recent interview that they were testing their makeup products in the men's section at Target. So at a few select Targets, they did a display with some of their makeup products like the sticky primer, and they were testing them in the men's section at Target to see how they would do. I also talked a lot in, I don't know what video, I talked in some video about the trend of looks maxing, which has definitely evolved, but the original roots for that idea grew in incel communities online for men that wanted to become more attractive, talking about different techniques that they could participate in and test out to look more attractive. So it seems like the industry is focusing on male consumers a bit more heavily. Obviously, makeup is gender neutral and can be worn by anyone, but I wouldn't be surprised if we started seeing more and more beauty brands pop up that specifically align themselves with beauty for men. You know, makeup products that are a bit more subtle, maybe you can't necessarily tell that they look like makeup, very understated. I could see that becoming more and more popular in upcoming years. We've also seen increased dialogue about anti-aging directed at men in recent years, but the difference is that the language we use around the two differs. When we're speaking about it for women, we call it anti-aging, but when it's presented to men, they talk about it as biohacking, which is a frustration in itself that could be an entirely separate video, but I would not be surprised to see that expanded on in coming years. And their next prediction, they call bringing back the bombshell. And this is the one that probably surprised me the most. They talked about their prediction of the resurgence of ultra glam hair and makeup. They specifically highlighted Sabrina Carpenter as the force behind this resurgence. And I think this is interesting because we've been talking about clean girl beauty for a couple of years now, and there have been a lot of predictions that, you know, we were going to go away from clean girl beauty. Even last year, that was something I anticipated that we would see, and I can't say that we really did outside of some small minor deviations away from it. Certainly there are people that want to experiment with different makeup looks, and there is some rebellion against the clean girl look, but I really think when we look back on this decade, you know, it's still obviously happening. We are only in the middle of it. When we look back on the 20s and we consider the overarching makeup trends of this time, I think the clean girl look is really going to be a hallmark of this decade. And we know that trends really swing back and forth, so I don't doubt that the future does hold a more glamorous look, but I would be surprised if 2025 went as bombshell glam as Business of Fashion is suggesting that it will. The article quoted Christy Dash, the head of beauty partnerships at Instagram, and she said the big bouncy 1990s blowout was obviously trending all year, but is still fully a thing now, and going into 2025 will still be a major trend. That surprised me a little bit because if you were to ask me like when was the peak of the popularity of a blowout in recent years, I would say it was a few years back. Certainly people still wear and love blowouts. I think it's a classic look. I do it all the time. But her framing it like blowouts are just gaining popularity was a bit surprising to me because that hasn't been my perception. The article also referenced the Victoria's Secret fashion show as another source of this like bombshell look, which again surprised me because I think it's pretty undeniable that Victoria's Secret has lost a lot of relevance, especially the fashion show. I don't think resonates with people the way it did a decade ago. Not to mention the fact that when you look at the makeup that was worn at the Victoria's Secret runway show recently, they were actually mostly what I would describe as clean girl adjacent looks. I don't think the makeup and the hairstyling was like the classic Victoria's Secret bombshell. It was a much more modern, clean girl-esque type of look. I think elements of glam are going to return and become more popular in 2025, but I don't know that I would describe them as like the bombshell look that Business of Fashion is calling this. But hey, a few specific examples. I think waterline eyeliner is going to continue to gain a lot of popularity. I know, especially with that Billie Eilish video, everyone was starting to do it again. I know myself, I'm like, why did I stop wearing eyeliner in my waterline? I've been having fun with that. I think there's a glam element of it, while still feeling somewhat aligned with the clean girl look. It's kind of minimal. It's not super pronounced to have something in the waterline, but it adds that really sultry look. And the way I've seen people playing around with the waterliner trend, sometimes definitely with that bold black liner, but I think with the prominence of brown mascara and brown eyeliner, I've seen people swapping that out for a softer brown look that still gives that sultry effect, but not quite as intense as the black we were wearing maybe years prior. It really feels like clean girl makeup meets glam makeup. Like there's almost this marriage in the middle. This also feels unsurprising with the popularity and resurgence of early 2000s makeup, especially considering that those looks were ultra eyeliner focused. They also specifically said voluminous curly hair and a glowing makeup look, which again, also surprised me because glowing makeup is something I think we will kind of be moving away from. I've talked for a few years now about makeup going a bit more matte as we move away from that hyper glowy dewy look. And they also talked a lot about big voluminous hair, and I said in my predictions video for 2025 that I actually predict the opposite, very sleek pin straight hair being more trendy this year. Now, I'm sure we will see both. I'm sure plenty of people will wear big, voluminous, curly hair. Plenty of people will wear sleek, straight hair. And I wouldn't be surprised to see some more like glam elements come back in. Again, I wouldn't call them bombshell necessarily, but I could see, you know, like the more eyeliner, like maybe some shimmer, bolder lip that's not necessarily just like a little glossy oil, you know? But out of all of their predictions, that was the one that caught me off guard. It surprised me a little bit. Again, I could see elements of it, but that wasn't necessarily what I was envisioning for this year, but I would be very curious to see how it plays out and if this does come true. Maybe it will be the year of the bombshell. I want to hear what you think. I will also leave that original predictions video that I made for 2025 a link down below. Thank you again to Wonderskin for sponsoring this video, and thank you so much for watching. I will go ahead and see you on my next one. Bye.